What's going on? It's Andy coming to you with some playoff previews this week. That's what we're going to be doing. I could already hear the hyenas just cackling in there. But what about that? What about this? I need the sniffs. Come on, but what about this? What about the sniffs? Look, you have plenty of players sitting. You don't know who's going to be involved in these games, mostly during the pregame. So you want to know what I advise? I advise that any of you who want nightly picks for this last week of the season, come over to my Patreon where, oh, wait. What do you know? Oh, that's right. We topped 500 units for the season last night in what was the biggest line combo night of the season. Wait, didn't you just say last week was the biggest line combo night of the season? Yeah, I did. Only to be outdone by last night, because as I told you, when teams have nothing to play for, any single one of these games can turn into exactly what you saw in Nashville, a 7-3, and there are all sorts of blow-up games. It's hard to diagnose exactly which one, which is why we throw out the line combos on all of them. So if you want your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday daily sniffs, for me, it's really just the line combos because we don't know who's playing in 80% of the games, and you're seeing that left and right. Like if I gave a bunch of sniffs for that Kings-Oilers game thinking it was this huge game, and the Oilers just say, oh yeah, we're sitting out everybody, then all the picks and sniffs are null and void. So what I thought is that I would give you a little playoff preview with some of the series that we already know, and then eventually by the weekend we will know all of the series. And I'm going to start with essentially the most intriguing series. This one along with the Florida-Tampa. Every year, seemingly now the way the playoffs are structured, you get two potential Stanley Cup teams playing in round one. We saw it last year with the Vegas Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champs, and the Dallas Stars, who were one of the favorites, the current favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year. At least it was like a week or two ago. And they played in the first round. It was a 7-game series, and it could have went either way. And I can assure you, if Vegas ended up taking that game 7, they could have went as far as anybody else. I mean, we already know they beat the Oilers the year before that. So we have 2 of those series. And the first is the Avalanche and the Stars. By the way, say hello to the Sweet Chin Board. Welcome the Sweet Chin Board back to town. You guys remember him from last year. There's a whole story of where this came from. I don't know, maybe go find the podcast that I talked about it on. But in this Stars Avalanche series, a rematch from the second round last year, but I can assure you there are many different things. Don't be the guy that goes, well, the Stars beat them last year, the Stars are going to beat them this year. Yeah? Is that the case? So then why are the Colorado Avalanche favorites not being the home team in this series? They had fewer points, and they're going to be starting out on the road. Well, there are a few key factors that I've written here on the Sweet Chin Board. And the first and most important storyline in this series, along with pretty much every series the rest of the way throughout the playoffs, is the health of both of these teams. You can't overstate how important it is to have all your quality players in there, especially when you're talking about a team like the Colorado Avalanche. But in particular, on the Stars side of things, you're talking about a guy in Miro Heiskanen who would eat 30 minutes a game. Do you guys remember last playoffs? They played 5 defensemen. They just didn't play a 6th defenseman because they didn't trust, what was his name? Lundqvist? The fake Lundqvist wasn't spelled the same. There was a K in there somewhere. They wouldn't play him at all. He would get 4 minutes a game. They were essentially rotating 5 defensemen. And they traded for Tanev. So they were short on the back end last postseason, and they made it work to the best of their ability, but that relies on 30-something minutes of Miro Heiskanen, who's also a fantastic player in transition, getting it from the defense and transitioning to offense. And against a team like Colorado, you need as many players like that you can get. So that is a massive, massive factor going into this series. I mean, he's clearly not going to be ready at the beginning of the playoffs. And even if he somehow is he really going to be playing a significant role? I mean, that was a serious injury, but from all the reports, he's not going to be ready in this series So maybe round 2 or late in round 1, but not having him out there and forcing all the other guys into a bigger role. Maybe against a worse team, you can kind of get away with it, but not against these Colorado Avalanche, who seriously, since the first time since they won the Stanley Cup, we can legitimately look at the Avalanche and say, oh, what a stacked top line that is. I guess they're going to have to do everything, right? No. There are potentially more than 2, maybe 3 lines, because they finally learned something that I've always known and I've always claimed: give me a full team of 30 goal scorers and they will win a Stanley Cup before that team with the ultra stacked top line, because that's how the Stanley Cup playoff works. And in terms of Colorado's health, you have Jonathan Drouin, he played like 2 weeks ago. I imagine this is precautionary because you're obviously seeing this with the Avalanche. They've rested McKinnon the last couple of games. They're essentially sitting everyone out. But if they have him, you're looking at a top 6 of McKinnon, Nichushkin, Lehkonen, Drouin, and Brock Nelson. And then on top of that, even if he's not playing, even if he's not in a top 6, a top 9 role, even if he's on the 4th line, but sticking Gabe Landeskog in that lineup is just somewhat of an uplift for this team. Even if it's just the fake Disney story, like, oh, he finally made it back, what a long journey, let's play for Gabe, let's win this one for Gabe. You have a healthy Colorado Avalanche, which is a scary proposition, and I don't disagree with them being favored. You take Miro Heiskanen out of that lineup. You have Jake Ottinger in a kind of lackluster year compared to what we've seen from him. Can you always turn it on during the playoffs? Absolutely. But we haven't seen anything special from him. So, yes, you want to give the goaltending advantage to Dallas, but that's contingent on that playoff version of Ottinger that we saw against Calgary and whatnot showing up. Another thing that is a major factor in this series is that it's round 1. The playoffs accrue a ton of wear and tear on these players. You can look at Dallas and you saw, like, oh my God, a grueling 7-game series against a physical team like the Vegas Golden Knights. Then you have the Blitz of Colorado coming at you. That was a 6-game series. They played well against Edmonton in the beginning, but that gauntlet, they were slow and tired by the end of that series, which is one of the things that cost them that series against Edmonton, which they had a lead. I believe they were up 2-1 in that series and then lost the next 3. And why did they lose the next 3? What was a major contributing factor? One of the biggest parts, the untold stories of almost every single playoff series, the special teams. I need you to go look at what the Dallas Stars did in that series against the Edmonton Oilers. They got into one of those spells, like an 0 for 10, 0 for 20, didn't score a power play goal. And then on the flip side, they were able to keep Edmonton off the board early in the series, which is huge. You keep Edmonton off the power play or scoring on the power play in the playoffs, you give yourself a massive chance to beat them. Hence, they were up 2-1 in the series. Edmonton starts popping in power play goals. They win every single game the rest of the way. Special teams plays a major part in every single playoff series. And this Dallas power play is middle of the road. And then on the flip side, Colorado, who were struggling at some point throughout the season, they are a perennial top 5 to 7 power play. And when all was said and done, they once again are a top 5 to 7 power play. It remains to be seen who exactly they're going to utilize, because after the trades at the deadline, they kind of tinkered with different things, but they obviously have the recipe to have a successful power play. We saw what the power play did for them in round 1 against that great Winnipeg team, which also lets you know they don't care about starting the series on the road. The way Colorado is, they're either scoring a ton or they're losing. And early in the playoffs, that first round is the round that at least you could say resembles the regular season the most in terms of goals. The amount of overs that you see, I guarantee you, will be the highest in round one, because the further you go along in the playoffs, the more those cheeks get clenched, because the more that's on the line. Every goal could be your playoff life, and the further you go into the playoffs, the more each game means, because you don't want to mess it up because you're that much further down the line. So the special teams advantage seemingly goes to Colorado, but let's be honest, Dallas has a bunch of talented players on their team. If they do get on a roll, I can envision that power play doing just fine. Thomas Harley, that's one thing. He stepped into Henchen's role on the power play, and he did pretty well in that role. So he's going to have to play a huge role offensively. So I'm going to give the special teams advantage to Colorado. My personal contributing factor to this series, what I think is the main factor in this series, is the speed disparity between these two teams. And early in the playoffs, that's when I think the speed disparity shows up the most, because you don't have that wear and tear. You don't have a team who had to grind their way through 2 rounds and people are playing through injuries. You're getting a pretty fresh team who's coming out flying, and whoever plays Colorado typically has to deal with that. And I think that massively benefits Colorado, because if you look at Dallas, go watch some of Dallas's games. I want you to name me the players who can skate the puck from their defensive zone and move it to the offensive zone in transition with speed. And I'll sit here and wait, because there's Rupe Hintz, and that's about it. A little bit of Matt Duchene and maybe a little bit of Wyatt Johnston. But when you look at the skaters, the forwards on Dallas, and this kind of was very apparent versus Edmonton. They have a lot of slow forwards. And against teams like Vegas, who want to kind of play a low-scoring, grinded-out game, defensively responsible, let's play 2-1, clench cheat games, Colorado is just going all blitz. It's generating offense, ton of speed. They have some of the fastest players in the league. They have the second and third fastest player in McKinnon, Nichushkin. There's obviously Makar. They want to put you on your heels. And if you can't come back at them off of turnovers because you don't have the speed to exploit that, it's going to give you problems. That's another part of this series that I tilt towards Colorado. Just that massive speed disparity, which can put a team on its heels. So special teams, I'm giving Colorado. The speed advantage, what I think will be a huge factor, goes to Colorado. But let me talk about something that probably Dallas has the best, Dallas and Florida, they have the best depth of all these playoff teams. They have multiple lines who can score, and I can assure you, when you want to win a Stanley Cup, you can't have one line. That one line is going to run into some sort of shutdown unit. And that shutdown unit is going to, when they have home ice and they have the benefit of last change and they can put a 5-man unit out there to shut that unit down, they're going to go quiet. You can even look at the Colorado Avalanche, who won the Stanley Cup. Nathan McKinnon did nothing in that first round. It was a ton of Nazem Kadri and it was a ton of Makar, but that's the way it works when you want to win a championship. It has to be, this line blows up this round. Oh, that line blows up this round. You look at the Vegas Golden Knights. We saw the Eichel-Marchessault line, but then we saw Stone and Stevenson, and then we saw William Karlsson his third line go off against the Edmonton Oilers. Everybody had their series that they kind of carried the torch in. And when it comes to the Dallas Stars, you obviously have the top line of Hintz, Rantanen, and Jason Robertson. Then you have Duchene, Marchment, and Granlund, or if Sagan comes back. And then on the third line, you have Wyatt Johnston, Jamie Benn. These are a lot of players who can score, and it's a massive benefit to be able to roll 4 lines. You don't have to stack ice time on a few players, which is what's caught up to Colorado these last couple of years. The Avalanche were ultra stacked when they won the Stanley Cup. Ultra stacked. Just line after line coming at you. And these last 2 seasons, they've been eliminated from the playoffs because it's McKinnon and Rantanen kind of had to do everything. And 2 straight Aprils when Val Nichushkin had to leave because of some issues, differing issues at both times, they were so thin, and either those players were doing everything or the team was losing. I can say they finally addressed those issues. What's undone Colorado these last 2 years is finally becoming somewhat of a strength. They're not as deep as Dallas from, top to bottom, but I think they made the right move in getting rid of Rantanen to make this more of a complete roster. And I think they're going to be able, the middle six forwards on the Avalanche, they're going to be able to contribute way more than they have the previous two postseasons where the Colorado Avalanche weren't able to get that supplementary scoring to propel them into the conference finals or the Stanley Cup finals. Yeah, no escorts for Val. Honestly, I know I tweeted this out. If I'm the Colorado Avalanche, I'm hiring 3 off-the-books henchmen to just follow Nichushkin around until the playoffs are over. Because, like, my tinfoil hat theory is Dallas was going to play them 2 years ago. That they called one of, like, Jerry Jones' cohorts. They sent some escort to Val Nichushkin's the club he was at or the hotel. That derailed that whole playoffs. Then last year, magically, the drug test or whatever it was, somebody's doing something to get Val in trouble. So hire some henchmen, because Val Nichushkin, mark my words, is the prototypical type of playoff player that you want. He is a monster, huge, has a ton of skill, can skate, and has created nightmares in previous playoff years. When they won the Stanley Cup, he was like one of the mini MVPs, scoring almost every single game in the Stanley Cup final. He's a key part of that Colorado offense. Borderline say he's an X factor and a difference maker, and I want to highlight that because if you were to just, who are the true difference makers in this series? Who can potentially put this series on their shoulders and really break a game open? I kind of see one guy on Dallas who can do that, and that's if Jake Ottinger plays up to his full potential. Because if you're willing to say, like, Rantanen or Robertson, we've seen Rantanen on 2 different teams. He's not taking any of these games over. He's not that X factor taking a series over. Maybe he can prove us wrong, but from what we've seen on the Hurricanes, and even though he's been putting up points in Dallas, it's not like they're dominating by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, Dallas has been losing left and right since he's got there. After Jake Ottinger, I see 3 guys, almost 4, and they're all on Colorado. 2 I don't have to tell you. Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar. We saw it all throughout their Stanley Cup run. They've been unbelievably productive in every series since the Stanley Cup run. But my other X factor is Marty Necas, who I've talked about many times this season. He's like behind only McKinnon and Connor McDavid for the fastest player with the puck in the NHL. He was leading the NHL in scoring on Carolina's second line all the way through like Thanksgiving. This is an X factor who just found his way onto Colorado. He can be a massive factor in this series. So when it comes to who I think is going to win this series, if you told me there was a healthy Heiskanen and, that whole lineup was fully healthy, I would slightly favor Dallas. But right now, if I have to pick a team to win this series, this is the first Colorado team I've seen that's more than just the McKinnon-Rantanen line. Last year, they tried getting middle stat. It did not work out. This year, it's different. They got Brock Nelson, who scored 30 goals in like 4 straight seasons, has a ton of playoff goals. Charlie Coyle to be the third-line center, and he can do pretty much anything you need him to. They loaded their team with depth, and I think they're going to be rewarded for that because they still have a ton of skill up front and a ton of speed up front. And I'm not so sure that the Dallas defense is going to be able to handle it. What's very interesting is I think if this was the conference finals, I would give Dallas a slightly better chance. Every team slows down a little bit by then, just because of the playoff wear and tear. But round 1 of fresh Colorado, I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche to take down this series, but it's going to be like that Dallas-Vegas. If it goes 7 and Dallas wins, just like last year's opening round Dallas series, I am not going to be surprised. So that's what I have for my preview for the Stars and Avalanche. I got some more of these coming your way before the playoff starts. Make sure you like this video if you enjoy it. Go ahead, curse at me because you're just a filthy swine who needs to have 8,000 picks, and you can't just learn about hockey, talk about hockey, try to see what's going on, learn something about these two teams. No. You just want to rip your 15-leg pirate parlay. Hey, if you want to do that, I know what you can do. You can come join the Patreon. It's patreon.com/Andy Francess. I'll have out those line combos, which are now over plus 500 on the season. It's a mission accomplished. The rise to 500 has now been complete, and now I'm going to sit my starters like the Avalanche have for the rest of the season. I'm ending plus 500. That's it. These are all unofficial picks from here on out. Anyway, I will have those over there. I hope to see you there. If not, I hope to see you for the next playoff preview. We'll see you next time.